Well, good morning and welcome to the Church Office podcast. My name is Gavin Smith and it's a joy to welcome you to this church administration operations podcast. We love talking about all the work that happens behind the scenes, and we've got a special guest today from Operation Christmas Child, Nick Coles. Thank you for joining us, mate.
Hello, Gavin. Lovely to be with you.
It's fantastic, and you're the director of Operation Christmas Child UK. You've been involved in it for a number of years, and we were just saying earlier before we went live on the podcast that you were involved in a church operations role previously. So tell us a bit about yourself.
Yes, very much so. So I was the operations manager at Tunbridge Baptist Church down in Kent, and that was a really good and learning experience.
Yeah.
Just being part of a lively church, heavily involved in the community, but also with a real heart for a world mission. So we got involved with a young couple that was starting ministry with the Baptist Missionary Society in Albania. That was great. I took a group out with Samaritan's Purse to a Central Asian country to see the shoeboxes distributed and see some livelihood projects.
Yeah.
So, just all the mix of a local church. And I learned loads during that period. But the opportunity came up in 2015 to go on staff with Samaritan's Purse as their UK director, having sort of restarted the project at Tunbridge Baptist Church, because we had a children's worker that came to the church. And when it got to this time of year, October, November, she said, "Guys, are we going to pack the shoeboxes?" And we looked at each other and said, well, we haven't done the shoeboxes for a few years. So she said, "Well, do you know, when I was a child growing up in Serbia in the war, I received a shoebox myself. We must do this project." So we looked, as leaders, we said, "Come on, let's look at this." And then when I investigated Samaritan's Purse a bit more, I realized that, yes, the shoeboxes bring joy to children in need and in traumatic situations and so on, but also through the church partners overseas, the churches share the Christmas story of new life and hope in Jesus. And wow, I realized there's this massive mission and gospel opportunity. So as a church, that's why we really wanted to get involved again. And I suppose I got too involved, because then I came on staff and have loved being part of the ministry since then.
It's brilliant, and I just love. I've just been looking back at the history of Operation Christmas Child, and it started in Wales, where I'm based, up in Wrexham, which is amazing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I love the fact that this ministry that is now truly global. Last year, 10.5 million shoeboxes sent around the world. The US church that God has blessed and large and well resourced, they send the lion's share of those shoeboxes, but also the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Germany, and so on. But the project started here in the UK. So what happened? Those of us that are old enough to remember fall of the Iron Curtain, and in Romania, at Ceausescu's orphans, and we were all shocked to see the television scenes of those orphanages. And so a group of Christians in Wrexham said, let's do something about this. And many Christian groups also, and community groups, for that matter, responded the same way. So we put toys and bedding and supplies onto vans and trucks and drove them to Romania, to the orphanages. And there in Wrexham, Dave Cook and I think it was his sister-in-law said, "Hey, Dave, as well as all the blankets and the regular supplies, why don't we put some Christmas gifts in for the children?" And so put a few gifts in a shoebox and take them. So they took a few hundred that year, but the idea really caught on. It was an inspired, I think, a God-ordained idea that gave to Dave and his friends. And the thing just mushroomed. It spread from Wrexham across into Liverpool. Liverpool Football Club got massively involved in the early years. And then Dave was in this situation. We thought, I've got these thousands of shoeboxes. And whereas it was one thing to ask some Wrexham hauliers, maybe 3 trucks to go to Romania, suddenly dozens of. He was thinking, how do I do this? So he thought, hang on. He'd heard of Samaritan's Purse, International Relief and Development Organization, and said, okay, they are used to responding to disasters and getting stuff to difficult places around the world. So he approached Franklin Graham at Samaritan's Purse and said, "Franklin, would you give us a hand? Would you figure out the logistics?" And Franklin said, "Yes, I will. And let's get involved also." So he approached several big churches in Charlotte, North Carolina, and said, guys, would you, it was literally at the last minute, would you pack some shoe boxes? And they managed to produce 8,000 shoe boxes. It was 1993, and took them to Bosnia. And again, it was still in the at the time of the war and all the difficulties in the Balkan area. And then God has massively blessed this project over the years since. That we're up to now, there've been 198 million shoe boxes packed, and we'll go to more than 200 million this year. Just phenomenal. But isn't it wonderful that just a few regular folk in Wrexham, in your home country, kicked this whole thing off over 32 years ago? I absolutely love that. You know, ordinary people being just powerfully used by God. Wonderful.
It's amazing, isn't it? Just how God resources it, how God has brought connections, and over 200 million shoeboxes this year are going to go out. I mean, since 1919 is incredible. I just can't get my head around it, and the logistics for it terrify me. How somebody is going to coordinate all of this. How many countries are you working into now? Because I saw on some of your publicity you're going into Ukraine this year and going to be doing some gifts which will be very current for people.
Yeah. So, I mean, globally over 100 countries, but here in the UK, we'll be sending to 8 or 9 countries. Now, 2/3 of those are going to either Ukraine or countries bordering the Ukraine, like Moldova and Romania, where the church is doing a fantastic job of hosting refugee families from Ukraine. So they will have that opportunity to further encourage Ukrainian families with the Christmas gifts this year. But we also get to send into Nigeria and the Middle East and a country in Central Asia. I'm using general terms because the church needs to keep under the radar in those countries. But God is working very powerfully in some extraordinary situations, like refugee camps with Syrian families and children. And we're hearing wonderful stories which you can't splash around too much about children and their families coming to faith in those contexts as well, which is wonderful.
And that's great, isn't it? It's more than just a shoebox of goodies for kids, isn't it? This is an expression of God's love, the opportunity to bring the gospel to bear, to share, to partner with churches who are in some really challenging situations to bring the gospel.
Yeah, that's right. If I can just mention a bit more of the specifics of that. So, we love to receive shoeboxes from Christian folk, but also people of no faith or different faiths. And we respect the integrity of that gift. That gift is passed on to the children. But at the same time, the churches have a booklet here called The Greatest Gift. And this one is, let's see, I can't read the back. It's not going to come. I can't see it. It's a foreign language. Parim Kingitis or something. I forget which language this is. But these are extracts from John's Gospel with attractive illustrations. Those the churches have those alongside the shoebox gifts, so the children can take that. Also, when the shoeboxes are distributed, imagine the cross between a Christmas party and a carol service. So we encourage our partners to have this wonderful celebration, gathering all the children together. They get the young people of the church to sing songs, do drama, have games, and then the climax of the event, kind of like, you go into a children's party, you get your party bag to go home, you get a shoebox gift to go home with the gospel booklet, but also the churches take the opportunity to share the Christmas story with the children, share the gospel. And then at the same time, they say, okay, children, if you've enjoyed today, as goes without saying, they have the opportunity to come back and take the Greatest Journey course. So this is a Bible club, and here's the course booklet I'm just holding up. Again, 12 sessions taught by the local church. Our partners, we work through a national leadership team in each country, representative of different denominations. So these are local leaders who know the culture. They select the church partners to be, trustworthy churches. They train up the youth and children's workers in those churches to deliver this course, which is Bible stories, age, children appropriate material in the local language. These are teachers that love the Lord, love kids, and build relationship. So now this is where it gets kind of mind blowing. So last year, despite it being the sort of second year of coming out of the pandemic, over 4 million children worldwide went on the greatest journey.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
of that,
Wow.
2.3 million said, you know what, I want to start following Jesus. So what a beautiful and precious
Yeah.
opportunity to introduce Jesus so they can, to these children, so they can discover him for themselves and begin a journey of faith. So that's a wonderful incentive for us as churches in the UK to get behind the
Yeah.
Shoebox project, because
Yeah.
that shoebox is the resource that then opens up the opportunity for the church in a culturally appropriate way in their countries throughout the world to share the gospel. And the Lord is working really powerfully, because the national leadership teams we work with are invited to think and pray, where do we want to see gospel breakthrough in our country? So it's not going back to the same orphanages or anything like that.
Yeah.
What they're doing is identifying, there's a slum area of our city where there is no Christian witness. Let's go there and gather the children and share the shoeboxes. Invite and start a Greatest Journey class, and then that class over time becomes a church. And so we've just one quick example. Ivory Coast, there's what I like to call Smuggler's Island. There's a little island just off Abidjan, which is the capital city.
Yeah.
And that island is kind of a hangout for criminals, because they're a bit further away from the police. So but obviously, not obviously, but very sadly and seriously, it's not Captain Jack Sparrow and Pirates of the Caribbean, not at all. This is a place of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, and just aching poverty.
Yeah.
And the local church tried on the mainland 3 times to plant churches, and then one of their members, a lady called Flor, heard about the Operation Christmas Child program. She thought, okay, there might be something in there. So got together with a pastor, and he very wisely said, you know what? We need to pray. So they called the church to pray in a concerted way. And then they took the shoeboxes, got permission from the local community leaders to give out 150 shoeboxes. And out of that, a church has been planted for the first time in that desperately poor place. And the island is becoming a safer place for the children, because the church has now started an after-school club.
Okay.
I'll say after school, but the kids don't get to go to school because their parents can't afford the ferry drive to the capital. So instead, this is something of an educational provision for those children. And what a privilege to be feeding a few shoeboxes, and then it multiplies. I just love this project because I get to brag about what God is doing through his church around the world. This is a kingdom ministry, friends. This is not just Operation Christmas Child. It's not just the Assemblies of God Church, which happened to be that church that planted on Smuggler's Island. Let's be together and fueling what God is doing around the world.
I love it. I love your passion, Nick, and mate, sign me up, because this is incredible. What you guys are doing. The shoeboxes are the entranceway in, aren't they? They're the connection, the kindness that leads to actually sharing the good news of Jesus. And I love the course. I love the fact that kids are getting to engage with the gospel. And it's mobilizing the gospel to go out into far-reaching groups and places where the name of Jesus has never been heard. So, mate, well done to you and the team. I mean, it's an incredible piece of work. So, well done.
Yeah, but it doesn't stop there. I'm equally passionate. If you think that was passion, let me now turn to the UK, my friend, because Operation Christmas Child is twofold mission. The Shoebox Project, because of the roots of the project back in Wrexham, where Dave Cook and his friends, they very much engaged the community. So over the years, hundreds of schools and scout groups and work groups have packed shoeboxes. And now, not everyone is as enthusiastic about the Christian side of the project. And a number of our schools have stepped away because they say, well, we can't support something that is so explicitly Christian. But nevertheless, time and again, through our supporting churches, they find that people on the fringe of church or beyond church find this project compelling, and they'll say, "Yeah, you guys are Christians. I'm not at the moment. Good for you, But I love the fact that children are going to experience joy and hope and a sense of not being forgotten, and people of any faith or none can enjoy that.
Yeah.
So we have this opportunity through the Shoebox Project to reach out into our community. So we encourage churches here in the UK to do things like a packing party. So this is where you mobilize the church and beyond to gather up the gifts, to go to the discount stores, buy multi-packs of soap and toothbrushes, a whole bag of tennis balls, and that way you can pack and then bring them all to the church and get the shoe boxes and pack them together. But obviously, there's an opportunity there to explain a bit more about the project and an opportunity to share something about the activities of your church. Now, a click on from that is for a church to be a shoebox collection centre. Mm-hmm. So we have our national collection a week in the third week of November. So it's coming up on the 14th of November to the 21st of November. Mm-hmm. And we have a network of churches, around 250 now, where a team of volunteers commit to be for certain hours at the church to welcome people to drop their shoe boxes off. So it might be a mums and toddlers group in the community bring in 20, 30 shoe boxes. Mm. And as they come in, you can say, look, you know what? These shoe boxes are going to children in Ukraine, and tell a little bit of a story about where they're going. But at the same time, you can say, you know what? Should we just pray for the child that's going to receive the shoe box? Mm. And then you can say, can I also pray for you? Mm-hmm. Is there something on your heart and mind that we can pray? And often, as you know, when I was an operations manager, so many opportunities when people come with a practical need, but when you offer to pray, suddenly, there's tears, there's a really heartfelt response to say, yes, please help me, please pray with me. And then practically too, the timing of the Shoebox Project means that you can have your Christmas activities leaflet there as well and say, well, if thank you for dropping off a shoebox. Can I mention to you, we've got a children's carol service in December. We've got carols by candlelight. Whatever stuff is going on, we have a mums and toddlers group. And in this way, I'm passionate to see Operation Christmas Child in partnership with loads and loads of local churches here in the UK, supporting your mission, your missionality, if you use that sort of the tired buzz phrase. But what an opportunity to do mission here. It's kind of like pre-evangelism. Everybody loves to pack a shoebox. So this is a way we can connect with our community and just begin to introduce people to the life and community in our local churches. So I really want to commend that to you. I'm passionate about the ministry God is calling us as churches here in the UK to do in our communities, whatever that looks like. We've got opportunities with food banks, with debt advice, with addiction recovery, with shoe boxes, with mums and toddlers. And, isn't it an exciting time to be the church where we have all these opportunities that people are struggling and we have ways that we can engage. So let's do it together, friends.
I love that. I think you've touched on a really good point, and I think as operations directors and church administrators that are listening in, isn't it? Being intentional about how we do a project as we go into the community makes such a difference, isn't it? Because if we make it relational, we get opportunities locally, as you're saying, to share the good news of Jesus, to invite people into our community. And I think it makes a really, really good point, Nick. And I love the fact that there's that intention. And around this project, there's fruit that can be seen from not just having a gathering point of boxes in the foyer, but actually having a place where people can come and find out more and get to know folk. And I love the packing idea. All of that stuff is great. Mate, tremendous. I think it's great.
Yeah. And there's one more twist to this.
How much passion have you got left? Come on.
I've still got more. There's one more twist, and that is the project is an opportunity for you to grow your people and leaders. That's a rather grand way to put it. What I mean is actually running the Shoebox Project in your church is a very, very simple activity. We have beautiful videos of the joy of the children receiving the shoebox. So it's an opportunity for and for a person of any age, including very much a young person, someone in their mid-teens, can stand up at church on a Sunday morning and say, watch this video, guys. Now, here's a shoebox. Let's get some gifts together and explain the kind of gifts that should go in, the school supplies, the personal care items, the toys, and so on. It's a very simple project for someone to take have that opportunity to express leadership in your local church in a very discreet project. So want to commend that to you. We've seen beautiful opportunities where in your like Tunbridge Baptist, we had Boys and Girls Brigade. So the older children in Boys and Girls Brigade would present the project to the younger classes, and that was a little leadership opportunity. And then also as Operation Christmas Child, we have developed a network of promotional volunteers around the country who at a regional and local level look after all the churches and groups that are packing shoeboxes in their area and make presentations and resource them. So that's and we're very serious about that volunteer ministry. We invest in it, we provide training. And here's my little sort of insight into that. Because obviously you guys are church administrators. Oh, Nick's after all our best people. He's going to rip them away. My encouragement there is actually what we do with an investment in leadership training, in things like conflict management, managing difficult volunteers, all that kind of stuff. We also aspire to equip your people to be better at the other volunteer ministries they're doing in your church. So it's a both and, not either or. The seasonality of Operation Christmas Child means that people can continue their vital and essential ministries. And I'd like to think they can do it a bit better and be encouraged in those ministries. Again, we're in partnership with you as church leaders to invest in your people so they become more confident and better equipped leaders. So there we go. That's the full gamut. There's masses to it, and I've probably blown you away with way too much detail and complexity. But I'm passionate about that. So thanks.
Great. And if you're a listener here, listening into this conversation, thinking, I would love to be involved in this more, then there may be. I think there's scope for church administrators to have some time to be involved in it because it is seasonal. Have a chat to your leadership team and say, look, I've got a real passion for this. I'd love to link into this. I'd love to take responsibility. And I love your heart for kind of, passing it on to the next generation, which we should always be thinking about as administrators and as church leaders, is who can we train up in this? And as you're saying, teenagers, getting kids involved is huge. And we've used it as, with our kids as parents to say, right, let's think about other kids who are outside of our family. How can we bless and share the things that God's blessed us with and resourced us with to care for other kids, and certainly connecting with Ukraine this year. It's a conversation we're having with our kids. So there's a great opportunity there as parents, isn't there, to link in and say, let's take our kids on a little bit of a journey here and realize that actually the world doesn't just revolve around them. And help them to think differently. There's so many different avenues to this, which is great.
I mean, you're triggering all sorts of memories, but I do commend if you're participating as a church, take a moment to have the shoeboxes gathered and brought to the front of the church and dedicate and pray. Why I think that's important is to get the children to bring the box forward. And I've had that beautiful experience of a young child bringing their shoebox, and there's that moment where they have to hand it to me, and you can see the reluctance because they know the beautiful presents that they put in that shoebox, and they don't really want to give it away. But when they do so, you see this little smile comes on their face, and they have that experience of sacrificial generosity. Okay, in a small way, but that is, just as you were saying, this is a learning opportunity for our young children. So especially young children, that moment of giving something that I would really prefer to keep myself to someone else is really powerful. So, commend that to you.
Good life lesson there for kids. Yeah, it's good. So give me some timelines, Nick, because obviously you've got this collection coming up in the next 2 weeks. It's a national collection. There's a drive, isn't it, to get these gifts going and moving. Timeline then, if we look at next year getting involved, when's a key time to engage with you guys and say, right, let's start this journey together?
Yeah, so really any time from July, August onwards is the time to decide to do the project, get hold of a bundle of these leaflets, which is how to pack a shoebox.
Yeah.
Practically what you get on them is the label of boy, girl, and the different age groups, and cut that out and stick that on the shoeboxes. We have these because many shoes these days aren't sold without boxes. So we have these red and green pre-printed boxes that you can order in packs of 50 or 100.
Okay.
And it makes the project so straightforward because you do a launch in church in September or October. and stand at the door and just give them out. And it really helps people it makes it, straightforward for people to do. So order the resources in the summer, early September, plan a launch Sunday, and it can be done in as little as 5 minutes or as much as 10, just to briefly and clearly explain what's involved, and then invite the church family or the groups to bring the shoeboxes back in November. Pick a Sunday morning. We always have the slight challenge of there's Remembrance Sunday, of course, right on the cusp of it. So depending on how Remembrance Sunday is done in your church, you may want to use that Sunday or not use that Sunday and go a little later. Now, probably too late with just a few days to go before our National Collection Week to be involved this year, but we have an additional initiative, which is packing a shoebox online. And this is something where God really blessed us. This is something that was quite a small aspect of our ministry, but then the pandemic came, and it was a wonderful way that people continued to be involved. And whereas normally we would perhaps send one lorry of shoebox online boxes, in 2020 we sent 5 lorries, and that had really enabled the ministry to go forward during the pandemic period. But people love to pack shoeboxes online. So what happens? You go to our website, which is samaritans-purse.org.uk, select the pack a shoebox online. You make a £20 donation. £5 of that goes towards the normal shipping and project costs. So when you're packing traditional boxes, we do ask for a £5 contribution per box. So that's something to bear in mind as those organising the project in your church, to remind people to make that donation. Now, if you're in a context where that might be difficult for people to contribute, then think about having, a quiz night or a separate collection, or even perhaps allocating a little bit of the world mission budget of your church towards the project donation. But anyway, back onto the online boxes, £20, so £15, we use that to buy the gifts. And on the website, you get to choose a selection from a selection of gifts. So it really parallels the physical experience of choosing your own gifts. And actually what we're finding is that people enjoy it, particularly for the kind of age groups, the older and the younger, the 10 to 14 boys and girls, and the 2 to 4s. Because for someone like me, I don't, what does a 10-year-old boy in Latvia or Ukraine really want to, and so I tell you what, I'll roll that responsibility back onto Samaritan's Purse, because we're talking with our partners overseas and saying, what are the gifts that are appreciated, so we can select gifts that would be
helpful.
So and that's something that you can do individually, but you can also do as a church. We have the facility to set up a simple goal page where you say, let's aim to pack 100 of these shoeboxes online, and there's a little train that fills up to tell you how you're getting on and update emails. So that's something. And very specifically this year, we've committed to do a complete truck of 12,000 shoeboxes to go to online shoeboxes to go to Ukraine. So particularly if people want to, know that their shoeboxes are going to a child in Ukraine, then I would commend that. That's a general goal page for some first. So thank you for the opportunity just to mention that.
It's great. I think that's great. And if let me encourage you, if you haven't got time to start a project, then you can spread the word. On we've sent out a weekly newsletter to folks, and this is an easy way to link in. Say, hey, would you get involved in this? We want to do more next year, but there's a need here, and we can bless some Ukrainian families, and I love that. So
absolutely, and it's a great way for some of the senior members of our congregation who may not be able to get out and about and do the shopping in a straightforward way, that what they can very much continue to be involved.
Brilliant. Lovely. Well, mate, I thank you so much for your time, mate. I've loved your passion, and you've sold this project to me, and I'm sure to many of our listeners. And so let's get involved. Let's get behind this. It's right. It's not just about the shoebox. There's a mission here and a gospel opportunity in so many different ways if we can intentionally and prayerfully consider these things that we've talked about. So, mate, superb. So if you've got any questions that you'd like to connect further with, send them into questions@thechurchoffice.co.uk. We can link you into Nick and to others working in Operation Christmas Child. Mate, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you very much, Gavin, and thanks everyone for listening and considering this opportunity. And really, God bless you in your mission efforts here and around the world.
Thank you, my friend. Well, until next time, we'll see you on the podcast. Goodbye.